For our spiritual practice and reflection time this morning, the discerning of our faithfulness, we'll be focusing on seeking right relationships, and we're going to center on the enduring principle of blessings of community. As you came into the service this morning, you saw the enduring principles banners, posters, which are up on the table back there. And this is a focus that we have been engaged in now for a number of weeks and months with our behavioral bingo game that we play. And with that, you'll also see in the foyer that for each of the enduring principles, there are cards up on the window which show kind of the different attributes or thought-provoking statements that are behind each of the enduring principles. Well, we are going to delve into that specific to the enduring principle of blessings of community this morning. We are going to participate in an activity in which we reflect on our actions or the actions of others in which we were participants in the blessings of community. To do this, we're going to examine some of the attributes of this enduring principle. And I've asked a few of our youth to help lead our reflection through this sharing. So this morning, Addison and Audrey and Vanessa and Katie and Valentina are going to share their experiences specific to the blessings of community as they either participated in or witnessed while out at Camp Sionito these past few weeks. And so they're going to come up as their topic comes up on the screen. And so at this time, I would invite Addison to come forward. And as we look at different attributes of blessings of community, we share this one. The gospel of Jesus Christ is expressed best in community life, where people become vulnerable to God's grace and to each other.
Okay, so for the 2 weeks I was there, 3 weeks, not 2.
Why so fast?
The first one I want to talk about really quickly was the fact that this was the first year that Reunion 1 and Reunion 2 were merged together to just make Reunion. And so there was a lot of people being very vulnerable in sharing the traditions that they loved and that they wanted to see, but also being open to new experiences, because they have, like, the two camps have very different traditions and stuff like that. So there was a lot of people who were willing to share or take over roles that they wouldn't normally in order to make the camp work. We got to know a lot of new people, because obviously you know the people from your reunion, but then you add like 150 more that you don't know, and it's a completely different experience. I'm gonna pick on Audrey for a second, but she was vulnerable because some of the Reunion 2 traditions that were communicated before camp didn't quite get passed over all the way. They kind of got like not quite implemented. So Audrey talked with the director and was like, hey, I would love to introduce a couple of these things. And she stepped up and led some games that the kids normally love to play, like marshmallow dodgeball and water balloon volleyball, and helped out with some other things and did mystery person and silly sunglasses, which was really cool. And a lot, not only did the people from Reunion 2 appreciate it because they were like, these are traditions that they're used to, but a lot of people from Reunion 1 were like, I really like these and I would love to continue to do these in the future. So I thought that was really cool. And then the other one, just really shortly, I saw this especially at junior camp, was people willing to be vulnerable at campfire, because a lot of them don't know the campfire songs yet, especially as a junior camper. And they're kind of silly, and they force you to just kind of let everything else go and just be silly and dance and do actions that make no sense sometimes. But the junior campers did a really good job, and they would do their best to sing along to songs even if they didn't know them, and they would do all the little silly dances that we'd make them do. So I thought that was really cool.
Thank you, Addison. And anytime anyone comes forward to share, they are an expression of making themselves vulnerable in that moment. And so I appreciate Addison sharing, as well as the other youth who will be sharing here momentarily. As this is a practice and a time for reflection, We ask this question for you to ponder. When have you felt vulnerable to God's grace and to each other? How can you be part of creating a community life in which people feel safe to be vulnerable to God's grace and to each other? I'd like you to contemplate that. As we move on to our next aspect of blessings in community, I would invite Audrey to come forward as we share in this activity. Come on up. Yep, you're good. True community includes compassion for and solidarity with the poor, marginalized, and oppressed.
So we had a small incident at junior camp with a male staff member who was trying to express and enforce a belief that was rooted in sexism towards a female cabin and specifically one female staff member. And instead of this being like a really down and not good moment from the week, this actually turned out to be a very impactful moment, because in that moment, this one female staff member stood up for herself. And in doing that, many other female staff members who knew the situation immediately stood up and backed her up, and they were there. And then all of the junior campers stood up and backed her, and there was this mob of people. And a lot of the junior campers didn't know the full extent of the situation. All they knew was there was an injustice taking place and they needed to do something about it. So they stood up together, and even if they didn't say anything, they were a force together. And even after that, many staff members and campers went and talked to that one specific female staff member who was originally yelled at with this sexist belief, and told her how impactful that moment was and thanked her for standing up for what was right. And it was a really interesting moment to see it's such a big group of like 7 to 10-year-old kids being like, yeah, you got this. And then after that, I had a male staff member who told me that that night he went back to his cabin and he told all of his junior campers about how the events that happened that day were not the way to treat other people, how we treat everyone with respect and the worth of all persons, and how to be respectful and responsible young men in this world. And he said that that was the most attentive that his voice had been in a conversation. So hearing that moment of fighting against this made such a big impact was nice to know. And then the other one I want to talk about was, I don't know if y'all knew this, but canteen prices were upped this year. Soda is still $1, but all candies and ice creams are now $2. Inflation has made it to canteen, y'all. But because of that, there were multiple campers that either didn't bring the right amount of money, or I had a couple times that camper, I had all the little 7 and 8-year-olds would misplace their money, and they'd be running around all frantic being like, I can't find my money, I can't find it, canteen starting soon. And every time without fail, there'd be another camper in my cabin, a little 7 or 8-year-old who would go, hey, it's okay, we can find it, and if we can't, I'll help pay for your canteen. Seeing a 7 or 8-year-old give up candy is not something most 7 or 8-year-olds do, but they were very willing to give their money to their friend to make sure that their friend was also happy and also got candy and or ice cream for the day. So yeah.
Thank you, Audrey. We think of Camp Sionito as a place where there is aspirational perfection. And yet we are all still flawed humans coming together to learn from each other. And I appreciate that there was a learning moment that happened in a way in which those who might feel marginalized or oppressed felt supported. So with that, our time of reflection, have you felt marginalized or oppressed? How can you be part of expressing compassion for and solidarity with the poor, marginalized, and oppressed. I would like you to reflect on that. Our next aspect of Blessings of Community, Vanessa will be sharing with us for this one. So Vanessa, could you come up here? This one actually combines the enduring principle of Blessings of Community with the enduring principle of worth of persons in its statement. True community upholds the worth of persons while providing a healthy alternative to self-centeredness and isolation.
I've been going to camp for almost 10 years and I love it there. The people there are like my family and that place is like my home. And I've always wanted to like share that place with somebody, with a friend from, my life outside of camp. But like whenever I have friends and I told them about it, they never wanted to go, And I felt, and like I saw other campers bringing their friends and seeing their friends loving the place and stuff. And I was like, I wish I could bring a friend. And also last year, like last summer, I felt really depressed and lonely because I have a hard time connecting to people and making friends because I have social anxiety. But where was I going? Oh, yeah. So, and it was my last year being a camper, and I still haven't brought no friend with me. So I didn't think it would be possible to bring a friend with me because I didn't have any friends. I mean, like I had acquaintances, but no close friends who I thought were close and, special enough to bring with me. And then I made a, oh wait, no. Okay. So last year, they gave us a pizza or an index card. Yeah. And they told us to write down what we want to ask God and like what's heavy on our hearts and stuff. And I wrote down, I wish I had, like a close friend, somebody that, didn't make me feel lonely. And this year I somehow made a friend and I invited her to camp and she loved it. And sorry. And yeah, and another time was also at camp this year. Sorry. Okay. So there's this girl that she reminded me of me because she was always by herself. And she didn't really she seemed kind of timid, Yeah, she was always by herself and she reminded me of me. But like I don't know if she was lonely or if she was just, introverted because I get it. Like sometimes I just want to be alone. But there was one night where I just saw her sitting outside by herself. And maybe she just wanted to be alone. I don't know. But even though I'm scared to talk to people, especially first, like approaching people first, I got over my shyness and I went up and talked to her and like I felt connected to her. There was no awkward small talk, like I didn't feel awkward. I didn't feel nervous. And it felt nice to, come over my shyness and have the compassion to, bring her out of isolation. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. It's a wonderful example of Sionito being a wonderful place to invite people to and the experiences that we might have shared in our past, but also an opportunity to meet other people who are going through different aspects of events in their lives. And so for our reflection, have you fallen into a trap of self-centeredness or isolation? How can you be a part of upholding, as Vanessa just shared, the worth of persons? As we move into our next aspect of Blessings of Community, Katie's going to come forward. Katie flew down from Kansas City to be a counselor at junior camp and specifically to be at Camp Sionito for the first time ever, correct?
Yep.
And so she's going to share with us Sacred Community provides nurture and growth opportunities for all people, especially those who cannot fully care for themselves.
Yeah, so I grew up going to Community of Christ camps as both a camper and a staff member pretty much my whole life. But this was my first experience coming down to Sionito. And something I've always experienced in camp is that sacred community, just being a very welcoming and encouraging environment. But that community was very strong this week at Sionito. And some examples of that are, like we said, this is my first time, and I was very excited because I knew junior camp, I knew where I was from, but like this wasn't my home campground, so I was pretty nervous going into it. I didn't know the campground. I was like, they're gonna have traditions I don't know about. They all know each other. Just all those anxious thoughts that fill your head. And I was welcomed way more welcomed than I could have ever imagined. Like I knew they'd all be nice and whatever, but I was just so welcomed immediately as soon as I walked onto that campground, and not only welcomed, but encouraged to kind of put my mark on how I liked to be a counselor and what I liked to do at my camp. And that was just really special to me because not only was I welcomed into that environment, but they wanted me to, have those moments for growth and just really do what I wanted to do. And it was very, very nice and comforting to be there. And then as with every camp I've been at, there was countless opportunities or countless examples of both campers and staff members encouraging those other, their fellow cabin mates or campers. And whether that be in, standing up, answering a question in theme class, or going up with their cabin at campfire, or even talking about, topics they hadn't really talked about before, even in like cabin devotions. And I just always love that when you're able to see not only staff members, we're kind of there to do that. We're there to, encourage these kids to step out of their comfort zone and enjoy these new things. But it's always really special to me when I get to see other campers encouraging their fellow campers, because kind of like Audrey was saying, like that's not something you normally see in these like 7, 8, 9-year-olds. Just in my day-to-day life. And so it's always really special to me when I get to see those fellow campers encouraging each other and just kind of, giving each other pep talks and things like that. And something that I've really always enjoyed and admired that I saw in Sionito this week was those environments where you're not only welcomed, but you're encouraged and you're actively sought out to share. And that was just something that I felt really strong this week that I really enjoyed.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie. And welcome to Texas. In our reflection, have you ever found yourself dependent on others' help? How can you be part of providing nurture and growth opportunities for all people? For Katie, it was the first time to be at Camp Sionito, but not first time to be at a camp. However, our next youth who will share is Valentina, and this was her first opportunity to be at a camp. And so I was really excited when she was willing to share her experience with the congregation and provide the ministry that is unique to her. And so with that, our final activity here is related to Blessings of Community. We value our connections and share a strong sense of trust in and belonging with one another.
I think it was a wonderful experience that I got to go to Camp Sionito because I've never been to camp, but everyone there made me feel so welcomed, and I felt loved, and I felt like I could, like, even at the campfires, I felt connected with everybody and with my friend, and I felt connected to God, most importantly. I felt like he was always there, and he was just like, you know, connecting all of us, because yeah, but I really like being able to go there because like it was just a new experience, and I got to meet new people and get out of my, social anxiety and build relationships as well. So, yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing. As Valentina said, she came out through the connection of one friend, but as a result of that and Camp Sionito, she has now connections with more friends. And she was sharing with me this morning before the service that she has made a deal with her dad, and she's able to go to spec as well coming up. So just a wonderful, wonderful experience. So as I said, it's a vulnerable thing to come before and share your ministry and your testimony before a congregation. And I really thank the youth for being willing to do that. Our reflection is, have you ever found yourself disconnected or untrusting? How can you be part of creating connections and sharing a strong sense of trust in and belonging with one another? In this moment, being mindful of the blessings of community and the role that you play in that, give of yourself on behalf of others and be grateful for those who have created a community that you have benefited from. Receive comfort and peace knowing that each day there is a community created by God for you. Amen. At this time now, Ian will come forward and he will lead us in